How does somebody go from bankrupt to what has now become a successful business that you sold?
When you bankrupt and you don't feel victim, and if you have motivation, like an inner motivation, and then something happens which gives you even more power. So you mentioned my second son. When he was 2.5, he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And it was for me like a difficult thing to accept, because most of the doctors, most of the medicians, they said, oh, this illness, it's something that's gonna last with you and your kid forever. And I said to myself, what? It's not like that. You cannot say something like that. I see my kid, it's healthy. It's just different as I've been different, you know. And don't put a label on this kid, because I will do my best and I will collect the best people around me, my best team, to develop this project. This is the most important startup, the most important project I've been invited for.
You know, you grew up with ADHD, and then at some point you got kicked out of 6 high schools. When did that switch of mindset happen? When did you realize that it's actually time to wake up and do something with your life? And how did you get yourself out of that victim mindset that a lot of people like fall back on? Awesome. Before we get into business, I always like to understand and know the person in front of me, so I can relate who they are with what they do and why they do it. So, how would you describe yourself in 3 words?
I've been thinking about this question, and it's 3 times P. Passion, persistence, and the precision of the goal. That's the 3 words that describes me best, yeah.
Why do you say the precision of the goal?
Most of the things in life you can apply some gamification at, you know? And it's like walking the dog, right? So you have a pretty precise goal you go for. You go beach and back, home. But meanwhile, your dog might go left, right all the time. But you are precise about your goals. So your dog walk is going to be fine, because you will get to the point that you want to get. And it's the same with any project. You need to be adaptive. You need to be ready to pivot. You need to be ready to change your plans slightly, but that's just the plans of the execution of your precise goal. My goals haven't changed since I'm a kid, actually. Yeah? I want to do the same since I was born, and I was feeling the same drive that I'm feeling today. So the goal remains the same, and I'm precise about it. And then it's much easier to not get lost on the way. You know what I mean?
And what's your goal?
My goal?
What's your end goal?
Well, my end goal to be happy. Really the objectives that you set up. Okay, I want to have this. I want to have a successful project. I want to have a successful family. I want to raise the kids that they're going to be independent and happy people. These are precise goals. How I'm going to achieve that, you know, the journey will show me. There will be a lot of ups and downs, every crisis. You know, it's very difficult to grow on the status quo. It's almost not possible.
And why do you say that?
Why?
Yeah.
Because if you are status quo, you are usually in your comfort zone. And you remain like equal, you remain steady, you remain kind of bored in your life. Yeah? And we see a lot of people living 9-to-5 jobs, living a life with their, you know, remote power in their hand on the couch. And one day they wake up, day 70, 80, they look back and they say, okay, I don't even remember the journey, because it was every day the same. There was just some crisis, life crisis, like, you know, loss of someone who is important for you, loss of something which is important for you, and you then focus on those things. So what does it mean? Your life, when you look back, is not the journey that you wanted to go for,
Yeah.
right? And you can even see that with people who we look at like as successful entrepreneurs. I remember one interview, I think, with Steve Jobs when he was almost dying, and
Yeah.
he said, "Okay, I screwed up in a way because I should be more balanced with my personal life, with my projects, with my business, with my passion." But I believe that he was not true about himself because he really enjoyed the journey. Of course, he did good things, bad things, but good, bad is from one is good, for the second is bad. Yeah? So if you enjoy the journey and you don't care that much what people say about you, you can really stay on the happiness side, on the side of making something meaningful for yourself. Then this also gives you a lot of power boost to keep you drive, to keep you, relentless, to go for even things that are very out of your comfort zone. Because I believe that out of your comfort zone, and maybe it's a slogan, out of your comfort zone, there's the most interesting things happening, right? Not on your couch, not in your living room. Yeah? That's why people travel. That's why we've been so unhappy during the lockdowns, during the COVID times, because we've been jailed in our houses, on our couches, in our like four walls, and no way to travel, no way to take a plane, no way to go to the places that we want to visit,
Yeah.
meet people that we want to meet. Yeah, this was like showing us that the real life happens out of our comfort zone. Yeah.
I think it's quite interesting because I remember you told me, you grew up with ADHD, and then at some point you got kicked out of 6 high schools. So I'm very curious to know, when did that switch of mindset happen? When did you realize that it's actually time to wake up and do something with your life? And how did you get yourself out of that victim mindset that a lot of people like fall back on?
Ah, right. Yeah. Well, I was always my father was saying to me, "You are too optimistic," because I
You're too
was
optimistic.
too optimistic. Yeah,
Okay.
and I was like, "Okay, I fail, but it's not like I lost, you know." And I was failing many times, and being kicked out of the high school, it's a kind of fail that people think, but the truth was that each time when I was kicked out of the school, I was getting to the new school, and I was getting new friendships, and I was meeting new people, new girls, new teachers. They started to learn me something differently.
Yeah.
And I was taking from each of those ecosystems something that was a value for me. So even though, everybody was saying, okay, even my father once said that success will kill you, son. Today, I can go to my father, I can speak with him, and he's a kind of proud of me, what I did, and that I didn't go this faith that he actually, this whisper that
Yeah. That
the
you won't make it.
spell that he put on me at that time. Yeah, but it was quite difficult to get out of that. Yeah, I was doing a lot of hypnosis and all of those kind of working on my conscious, on my
All of
soul.
that to manage your ADHD or your mental health in
I've
general?
learned that I have an ADHD 2 years ago.
Okay.
Before that, I was acting naturally, and I was like taking advantage out of my life. Even though the high schools, okay, there was always some tensions because I was always not fitting to the system, and I was like ready to adapt. Like I adapted to 6 or 7 high schools, yeah, and this was like I think my like a superpower to, even though someone didn't understand me, inside of myself I was finding power to go for it, to move forward, to actually not be squeezed by the rules that someone was trying to put me in the same shoes as everyone else in my class of 30 people, you know? And I was always like doing things differently. I was sitting on the lessons, I was drawing, I was writing something. I couldn't stand for 45 minutes in class, and I was just the rude kid for most of the teachers. Yeah, they all thought, okay, this is difficult person. We need to try to put him into the same style, to the same behavior as the rest of the class. Otherwise, the class will be, you know, not developing as a one ecosystem.
Yeah.
And especially in that communism time, to be independent, it was not a good thing, you know. Like communism and socialism is like, okay, stay equal. It's utopia, of course,
Yeah.
because people are not equal. But you know, at that time, for the teacher, for the tutor or anyone else, or for the school director, it was uncomfortable to having an individual who was actually doing something differently than the rest, because it's difficult to manage even.
Yeah, of course.
I have this experience now in my teams. You know, if I have individuals, today I know how to deal with them, you know, but most of the teams I see, they fear of individuals, or they put them into positions.
You mean people that are different?
Yeah, the people who are like, most of them are working the same in the corporates, for example. You have a different teams, and if someone doesn't fit to the team, he's kicked out of the corporate usually, or he's an outsider, and he is very often not succeeding in this corporate ladder because he doesn't play the rules. You know, in corporates you have rules that you go up the ladder. It doesn't mean you developing yourself. You're developing the strategy of being successful in the corporate. You know what I mean? Yeah.
Very interesting. Also, I know that you've gone through 2 bankruptcies,
Yes.
and one of them was when you had your second child,
Yes.
right? Your son.
Yes.
So, how did you manage that? And how does somebody go from bankrupt to what has now become a successful business that you sold?
Well, it's, I think, a natural when you bankrupt and you don't feel victim. And if you have motivation, like an inner motivation to go, do not stop. And then something happens which gives you even more power. So you mentioned my second son. I'm a happy father of 3 sons. The oldest one is older than you. He's 25
Nice.
at the moment. He's a vet. The mid one, it's now 11. And when he was born, I was doing some business. And then when he was diagnosed, when he was 2.5, he was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder. And it was for me like a difficult thing to accept, because most of the doctors, most of the medicians, they said, oh, this illness, it's something that's going to last with you and your kid forever. And I said to myself, what? It's not like that. You cannot say something like that. I see my kid. It's healthy. It's just different as I've been different, you know. And don't put like,
Don't put a label right now.
yeah, don't put a label on this kid, because I will do my best, and I will collect like the best people around me, my best team, to develop this project, because I took him as a project. I said to myself, okay, this is the most important startup, the most important project I've been invited for. For me, the key objective, like a very precise goal again, to make him an independent person. Okay, he might not be like you and me, because we are all different, right?
Yeah.
But he will learn about his superpowers, and he will be able to take him as an advantage. So I've been reading a lot. I've been like going to different courses. I was going to different holidays for the parents with the kids. Like we're going for 2 weeks. There was a special therapist together with me. I found the special schools. I did all of that, and at that time I realized, okay, like my business life also collapsed for a second, because I was not focused on making a business. For me, it was like, something bigger than
That was
business.
when you started to prioritize your son over everything else.
Yes, that was the day, and then I realized, okay, I'm doing good. It's changing. Yeah, he's starting to behaving in the understandable way for himself and for me. So I said, okay, everything happens for the reason, and maybe I will succeed, maybe not. So if I will not succeed, I need to make as big success. So if I will not be here, he will have all the resources to live independently, because I didn't have like rich parents. I didn't have anyone like to take the responsibility from me if I won't be here. And I also had a situation that my nephew has died with a cancer. And I understood that life might be very short journey, and I cannot leave him like a victim.
Yeah.
I need to first create him as a winner. Secondly, I need to collect enough resources that if he, in any case, will not be a winner, he will have anything to remain with the therapy, to remain with a proper support, and so on. Yeah? So I found in myself a lot of energy, but this energy was like triggered by the situation with Xavier. Xavier, that's his name actually.
Okay.
So it gave me a lot
So
of
just
power.
to put it into perspective, what happened is now your son went through a bad situation and you focused on it, and his situation was getting better, but your business was really going down.
Yes, for some period of time, yeah.
Was that the point when the bankruptcy happened?
First, the bankruptcy happened because I was not focused on the business completely.
Okay.
And also the situation with the people I've been working at the time, I was not focused. I was not focused. I didn't have a precise goal of what to do. I was like in chaos. It was too much for me at that time, yeah? And I lost. I lost on the way. I said to myself, okay, there is some sign from God or I don't know whom. Yeah? And at that time, I had a lot of issues in my personal life. I couldn't find my path for a year, I think. And a year when you run a business, it's, like 10 years. Everything happens so fast. And yeah, and then after this 1 year, when I collapsed, when I failed, I touched the bottom. I touched the ground. And I think this is also very important. So when you fail
Hard.
strong. Yeah, don't be like, okay, I still remain something and I will keep with that. It's not like that. You need to jump back, and the jump back is really the easiest is right from the bottom. You need to go to the ground and turn back stronger. And I believe like there is a theory from one of the psychologists called Erickson that each crisis creates a growth opportunities. Yeah? And when I realized that this is like really happening, and not only in my life, because when you look at again, I will come back to COVID. COVID made like a huge crisis for all human beings all over the world. Same wars, world wars, and so on. On each and every of those crises, there is a jump.
Yeah.
There is a jump with the technology. There is a jump with people mindset also. Yeah? It's natural. It's something that the world showing us. Okay, stop for a second. look around because maybe you are losing your objective.
So, tell me about your kayaking business. How did it start? And I know it flows within the story as well. So, from all of this sort of hardship, how did you grow that kayaking business to a place where it actually can be sold and it became one of the most successful businesses that you started?
It was like, yeah, that was the situation with my son, yeah, and it was a summertime, and at that time, my fiance, the mother of Xavier, she was living in the countryside. We met in the countryside, and it was like a land of lakes and rivers, and so on and so on. And I love nature. I love the green color. I love to be on the water and in the places like that. And I was kind of going to, I didn't call the meditation that at that time, but I was going for the kayak myself. I was floating with a kayak, and and I was feeling like really relaxing. And I found like a marina for kayaks that belonged to one of the sport universities,
Okay.
and they had like 150 kayaks. And I was already good at building websites, doing SEO marketing, digital marketing, and so on. And I also had quite a lot of connections within the corporate business, B2B business. So I collected all of the dots in this ADHD way, and I went to these kayak people from this university. I said, okay, I'm gonna rent it from you kayaks.
Okay.
And he said, okay, you're renting one kayak all the time. Yeah? I said, no, I'm gonna rent all the kayaks from you.
Okay.
I said, crazy guy, And I already had a plan in mind. Okay, so I built a website. I target my business to B2B companies that going to boot camps, that want to do, some trainings, like gatherings,
Outdoor activities.
outdoor activities, yeah. And I put the website, I put the CEO, I put the digital marketing, I put all of those bits together. And I went to my connections that I already had. So I had the first clients, I had the first testimonials. And it took me 2 or 3 years without having any own kayak, without having any own hotel. I was working with a couple of hotels nearby.
Okay, so
That
you would not only book the kayaks, but you'd also book like rooms for them and travel, like their travel arrangements inside.
everything uh, I've built like an experience out of kayaking. Yeah?
Okay.
So imagine to book just the kayak is cheap.
Yeah,
You're not gonna make money on that.
yeah.
But if you add a dinner, if you add some kind of, sightseeing, if you add some party at the end, if you add some local authentic cake on the way that the old lady is coming with, and everybody's so surprised, wow, yeah,
Yeah.
it's still warm directly from your oven, then people feel the experience. You have a word of mouth marketing. And imagine I had a clients that was going in one season 2 or 3 times to
Very
like
nice.
go and go and go and go. And I was starting to work with one hotel, then 2 hotels, 3 hotels. So I didn't have any resources when I
You
started.
didn't own anything.
No. Just the website. It was like I booked a website for like 2 dirhams
Yeah.
for the first year because it's some promotions you can always get. I was doing all the digital marketing by myself. I was like investing my time into that. That was the only investment that I could do at that time, not, suffer with my family and so on. So at that time, I was not full of resources. And I said to myself, okay, I started already from scratch a couple of times. It's fun, because the starting point, it's actually the most uncertain space, because especially if you are not like a full of resources, if you don't have like a backers, investors, and so on, so on, so on, you are the captain of this ship, of this kayak, actually.
Yeah.
and and I was looking at that time at Uber, and I said to myself, at Airbnb, that was like two of my examples how without resources, those guys has built like an amazing businesses using existing resources of their partners, of people who are having, the same objective: make some money on renting their room, even mattress, or renting or driving someone's from place A to place B. Of course, those businesses turn after to become like solid businesses with an army of employees and so
Yeah.
on, so on. But they started the same as I did. It was with much smaller scale, but that was like very similar model, business model. Actually, I applied. So kayak was not mine. Hotels was not mine. I just had a website. I just had a vision, and I was very persistent. Because at the beginning it was not like a successful journey, of
Yeah.
course. But after, let's say, 4 or 5 weeks, that was very fast, because when you do the good digital marketing, and I started in start of the season, so every company was looking for some kind of outdoor activities for their employees to make a team building and so on. And I was successful to already have a couple of connections in those companies. I went to them. I said to them, I remember the first, I said to them, okay, guys, I'm going to do that for you, like, no profit. Just write me a testimonial.
Okay. You will arrange everything
Yeah.
without any fees other than just your cost.
Well, there was some slight fees for, like, to stay
Okay.
alive, but there was no profit, real
Okay.
profit, yeah? But before even they went to the kayaking, and before the event, I wrote for them the testimonial. And it's a good tip. Don't let someone write the testimonial for you. Make him a testimonial and ask him to sign up. And I wrote like something which was, we chose this company to make for us a team bootcamp, team building, because they are this, and that. But at that day, they just choose me, but they didn't go for the trip yet.
Yeah.
And before they was in the kayaks going, I already have like 2 or 3 bookings for the future
From the
for
testimonial.
the testimonial I
Very
made with
smart.
them. Yeah? So it was, and it gave me a boost. I said, okay, I didn't deliver yet, but I was smart enough to show that someone chose me based on my personal resources.
Uh-huh.
Okay, so now I need to deliver. Because, in startups, very often you go for so-called fake it till you make it.
Yeah.
And I believe it's fine. But you need to be 100% sure that you're going to deliver. Because if you fake it till you make it and you not make it, this is very, very clear path to
Failure.
fail,
Yeah.
and to collapse, not to fail. Because, it's like a battle and a war. There will always lost battles, but the lost battles learn you something, and then you become stronger. As we said before, the crisis makes you stronger, makes you more persistent, makes you like a rhino. Your skin is getting like a shell, yeah. And but if you decided to say, okay, I lost the war, then you can become a victim. It can be on the personal level. It can be on the
Company level,
company
national
level,
level.
but also nation level. Yeah, and this is something we seen in the history. I'm a big fan of the history, because when you look back, okay, I live here and now. That's very important. But first of all, you need to look back into history to see patterns, because usually the patterns are coming back like a parabolic
Okay.
cycles. In the cycles, everything happens in the cycles. So live here and now, but be aware about the past, because it gives you a lot of hints what will happen. Because I believe also people do almost always the same in a different way. So it's
Same
repeatable.
situation or a similar situation, different time,
Different
patterns always
actors,
happen.
different actors, the same scene, you know. And
Okay.
this is like in my life, I've seen that so many times, and uh, and and I just accept it at some point. So you asked me about the ADHD and the diagnosis. It was like for me an important moment because I realized that I have this superpower slash condition, and when you're aware, you can accept something. When you are not aware, you sometimes acting as a chicken without the head. You know, you're running away. Whoa, 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 what's happening? Why I'm acting like that? If you're aware about your weakness and your strengths, then you can accept yourself 100%, and then the life becomes much easier if you accept yourself 100%. That was like a very turning point for me. Yeah.
I wanted to get back to the point where you were talking about you had to make sure that you deliver. So when you're running like an asset light model or let's say a business where you don't own the resources, how did you manage to control the experience? Like you don't own the hotel, you don't own the kayak, you don't own the operations.
Oh, you need to be like, it's like learning how to drive or learning how to make your shoes. Yeah, so the first couple of times you need to do that super manually with full consciousness attached.
Okay.
Yeah, and vision and passion attached. Then you automate the process. And very often people want to automate things too early. And this happens nowadays with AI.
Yeah.
You know, we believe so much into AI that we give away this power of this first couple of times that we do things manually. And I was applying that into my businesses always. So keep an eye on each and every bit of the process at the beginning, because then you can have an influence, even if it's third party, even if the hotel is not mine, even if the kayaks are not mine. Okay, rely on the reliable partners. This is also very important. And nowadays you can read the reviews about the service they provide, the quality of the equipment they have. You can find that in the Google Maps. You know,
Yeah.
it's not that difficult. So be conscious, be aware, but also be present. Be present. Keep an eye, keep a hand on that. Become even a part of the process in every bit. Yeah, or you or someone you trust. Someone sometimes who you know is better with this precision than yourself.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then you can map the process. You can automate the process in small batches, because this is very important. To not take it as a lot and you put that just to ChatGPT and say, okay, make my process
Yeah.
done. Okay, it works. Usually it works because we have pretty smart machines nowadays, yeah? And machine learning it's really advanced stuff. But maybe I'm old-fashioned. Maybe I'm outdated today. But of course, I'm working on the ChatGPT. I'm working on automation tools. But when I'm doing something first time, I want to walk the process.
Hands on. You
Hands-on.
need to know how it
Yeah,
works, why it works, how
absolutely.
it fails, why it fails.
Absolutely, absolutely. Go deep and see like the job, the work on each and every individual involved into the process. This will also give your team a boost, confidence that there is someone who is attached, who is dedicated and passionate. The driver of the bus is really the driver. There's not autopilot, you know, that turn
Yeah.
on. Yeah. So this is, I think, very important also for the team that you create. Yeah.
Amazing. Um, Scaling a business with limited resources. That's my next point. The nature of the business that you scaled, which is the travel business, is very complex and it's also seasonal. How does one scale that to thousands of customers per month? And how do you manage it? Right?
Well, accept that at some point when you scale, the quality might fall down a bit, because otherwise you will be very unhappy, because if you do something the way we just described, so you do things manually, you are making a very high standards
Yeah.
of the performance, right? And then you get third parties, then you get people, then you get someone who brings you some services, and you will not be everywhere at the same time. So then that's the moment of automation. That's the moment of automation. That's the moment of making a team bigger and bigger, relying on people, empowering people, motivating people. And you need to, that's what I did. I don't know if that applies for all, but I was always trying to make my team members a part of my success.
And how did you do that?
It's simple. You give them shares and they believe, they feel that they are co-founders, they are co-owners of the business. And of course, don't do. I did that a couple of times, that I gave too much shares at the beginning, and those people
Deliver.
didn't work for a long time with me, and this is difficult then to get rid of such situation. So I think very good solution are so-called ESOP, vestings, cliffs. So imagine you inviting someone, you think this is like the right person for the right place. Okay, divide it in some steps. If you work 6 months with me, you get 0.5%. 1 year, 1%. 1.5 year, 1.5%. 2 years, 2%. And there is some cap, of course. So
Yeah.
if they will work with you 10 years, they will not get 20%, of course. But you can really then attach those people to your business and be sure that you don't giving away the percentage that maybe should belong to someone else who will come and will bring much more value. Yeah. So I always believe that it's much better to having 40% out of millions rather than having 100% out of 100,000. And
So when you sold your company, I'm assuming a lot of people benefited, not only you.
of course, yes, yeah. That was a benefit for like. Of course, there was people who benefit and people who not benefit, yeah? Because not everyone went the same vision I did. Some people remained in the company. I was
Okay.
not the whole founding team sold the shares. Some of my co-founders, they are still working in the company. They still hold the shares. They are still in the management board. So they work on the delayed, let's say, outcome. And it's fine. I really support them. I think that they're gonna succeed at some point, and that they're gonna be happy too. Yeah.
I love that. Um, you know, now you're starting another business in a completely different space.
In a
So,
way,
in a way, yeah, in a way. Why start another business? Why not just invest into real estate and relax?
I do both.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, it's I cannot stay steady. No. And when I sold the business, the last business I sold, and it was quite significant amount of money, but it was an autumn in Poland, very bad weather, like a lot of rains and so on and so on. And I said to myself, okay, there's something wrong. I wanted to take like a couple of months off
Yeah.
and like really relax, because that was like a marathon for me. I was running this last business, which was worktrips.com, for 7 years. Started from scratch, delivered to the point that was acceptable, investable by the industry leader in the space of fintech. Because they want to make the offer much broader with adding travel services.
Yep.
And yeah, and I was sitting at home at the couch, and I was feeling depressed. I said to myself, okay, I got money, but I lost the passion. the purpose, the business purpose of building something meaningful. And I went to my friends, the former clients of mine. So the business travel we've been doing for companies like Google, Vodafone, SAP,
Oh, wow.
like big corporates. But within those corporates, I found a niche, which was business travel for contractors. So people who are not your full-time employees, but for some reason the company wants to pay their travel expenses.
Okay.
Because nowadays you have a lot of those gigs. The gig economy is on the rise, on the blossom, right? So
So people that are working for the business but are like freelancers on contract, not
yes,
full time.
yes. So temporaries, vendors, it's so-called extended workforce, right? And those companies I mentioned, they have a hell lot of contractors. Imagine at Google, today I think you have much more contractors than full-time employees, especially after COVID. And I went to my friends in those organizations and I started to speak with them and I said, okay, what kind of other problem you facing? The biggest problem for those contractors, because, I already learned for a couple of years what is their like a path of behavior, how you can make them happy, how you can provide a user experience for them that will be cherished by them. And And they said, Philip, yeah, there are a couple of obstacles. So, when we get the travel budget, for example, and we know the travel budget at the very beginning of the year, but we pay to the travel company after 60 days anyway, because we cannot pay them a year in advance. And if we not use our budget, at some point someone's coming and taking the budget off, and the next year our budget is smaller. And I said, okay, let's try to find some mid-layer between you and the vendor, so like a escrow model. So you will put a deposit into some kind of wallet or something like that, and then on every travel need, people will have money on spot rather than waiting 60 days and making a cash flow issues for the companies that was doing the service for you. And that was like an initial idea. But then I deep dive and I understood that very often the bigger problem for those contractors, especially if they are distributed all over the world, are wages,
Okay.
salaries. Because, imagine if you have like Google, let's say 120,000 contractors all over the world, or SAP, or Vodafone, or any other big corporate Fortune 500 companies, you don't have an office and business account in each and every country. You have those contractors. So paying them in some locations is really pain in the ass. It's so difficult to send money to some regions nowadays, countries and so on. And I was looking at that, and at that time I've learned quite a lot about the blockchain technology, about the cryptocurrencies, about the Web3 in general. And I found a couple of patterns that can be used, and I then deep dive into that. And I realized that most of the transfers today, like cross-border transfers, are made based on SWIFT method.
Okay.
Bank to bank, they're sending money by SWIFT.
Okay.
And the SWIFT method is with us since 1973. So it's 52 years. It's quite a long, yeah?
Yeah.
And the world is in so fast pace. Everything changed so fast. Within the year, we are now changing the same as we've been changing, 50 years before. And we don't innovate in this space. What's the reason? I said to myself. And then I moved here, and I suffered myself a couple of transaction I was trying to send into different locations, into Europe, into Asia, and so on. And this is a beautiful country. I really love to live here. I enjoy the weather. I enjoy people who are all oriented to succeed, to do something. Doers. There's a lot of doers. And 95% of people here, like you and me, they are expats.
And sending money.
And sending money to their families, sending money to people they love, buying goods, because also majority of things we see here, these are imported things. And, and this country is really building an amazing ecosystem for us to succeed. But then when we want to naturally support our close by, our friends, our families, our businesses, we are facing some bank in the middle that is not here, some correspondent bank. And usually this correspondent bank is located not here, not in this country. And these are banks, very well-known big banks from New York City, from other super
It's how
well-known.
money moves. It
It's
doesn't
how
move
money
from one
moves.
bank
You put money
yeah.
here, and I had this situation 3 times recently. I've been sending from 3 major banks money out of this country, and the money successfully go the same day out of my bank here. But then the money are stopped for 14 days, 21 days, without any particular reason.
With all of these challenges, what is the solution that you decided to go for?
Okay, it's very simple. You put here the dirhams into the wallet from your account, from the cash point, or anywhere else. The money are converted automatically to stable coins, which is much more stable than a lot of currencies worldwide today. And it's the future, I believe. Stable coins are the future. Even this country here in Emirates will soon have our own stable coin. And the stable coin instantly, in the same moment, you can say quantum, is with the beneficent, without any bank involved, without any institution involved.
So you're cutting down the time of transfer from days to seconds.
To seconds. And the receiver, the beneficent, has a credit card attached to the wallet, so he can go directly to the shop and tap to the machine and withdraw money, pay
And
for
none
the
of them
service.
have to deal with crypto.
No.
I send actual money, they
Yeah.
get actual money in their
Yeah.
currency,
Yeah.
but the intermediary is with crypto.
It's with crypto. And I believe this is the future for money remittance, especially cross borders, where there is a high cost, where there is a fear that the money will disappear, which also happens, or be stopped for no reason, and people in need, because we have first of our clients are companies who are doing humanitarian aid to the war zones. And can you imagine, brother, that 1/3 of the world population, over 2 billion people today, they are living in some conflict zones, affected by some conflict zones. And if you look at these money flows, it looks like it's on purpose, because it's so difficult to send money to the people in need. And if those people need to wait 5 days, 10 days, 15 days, it might be too late, right?
Yeah.
So I said to myself, okay, business travel, kayaking, it's a nice things to, you make life better.
But this is a real problem.
But this is a real
It's a
problem.
big problem.